All right, so get this. We're diving into some pretty interesting stuff today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, we're talking about, the power of words and like the mysteries of water
Okay.
and maybe even like a touch of quantum physics in there.
Sounds right up our alley.
Right. You sent us this research paper by Dr. Masaru Emoto
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
about how words and emotions might affect like the formation of water crystals.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. So.
Yeah, this is one of those topics that people get really fired up about.
Yeah, for sure.
Some see it as revolutionary.
Right.
Others just call it straight up pseudoscience.
Yeah, I can see that.
But you know what? That's why it's the perfect deep dive material.
Exactly. We're all about exploring the stuff that gets people talking. So let's start with like the basics of Emoto's experiment.
Okay, sounds good.
He exposed water to different words, pictures, music, all sorts of things, and then froze that water and looked at how the crystals formed.
Right.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, you'd think so, but the results were anything but simple.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Water exposed to, what we call positive vibes.
Like what?
Like words like love or pictures of beautiful scenery. They formed these stunning symmetrical crystals.
Okay.
But then when the water was exposed to more, negative words like hate or like harsh, jarring music, well, the crystals were...
They weren't as pretty.
Let's just say they weren't winning any beauty contests.
Interesting. So like the water was actually reflecting the vibes of the words.
It seems that way.
And he even like took it further with rice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like he put those words into action, and apparently positive words like encourage fermentation, while negative ones led to rot. That's where things start to get really interesting for me.
I can see why.
Like it makes you wonder.
Definitely. But of course, his work drew a lot of criticism,
Oh, okay.
From the scientific community, they questioned his controls, pointed out potential bias, and they weren't exactly thrilled with the journals he chose to publish. And
Right, right. I mean, it sounds pretty out there.
yeah.
So what were like some of the main criticisms?
One of the big ones was lack of rigorous controls.
Oh.
They argued that tiny variations in temperature impurities in the water, even the way the crystals were photographed, could have influenced the results.
I see.
And they also pointed to supercooling as a potential source of error.
Supercooling.
Yeah, that's where water is cooled below its freezing point, but it doesn't turn solid.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah.
So like it's still liquid,
Yeah, exactly.
even though it's below freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can see how that could mess things up.
Yeah, it gets pretty sensitive in that state. Sensitive how? Well, it turns out that supercooling makes water behave in some really strange ways.
Oh, really?
It becomes so sensitive that even like subtle vibrations or electromagnetic fields can influence its behavior.
Wow, so maybe that's the key here. Like maybe water is picking up on those vibes, those positive and negative vibes, because it's in this like super receptive state.
It's a fascinating possibility for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
Like our thoughts could be actually affecting the physical world.
And even some of Emoto's critics acknowledged how hard it is to control those supercooling effects.
They did.
Yeah, a researcher named William Tiller, he actually suggested that this inherent unpredictability might explain some of the variation in Emoto's results.
So maybe those scientists who were so quick to dismiss Emoto were missing something.
Potentially.
Like they were so focused on the flaws in his methods that they overlooked a potentially groundbreaking phenomenon.
It's a thought-provoking point.
Yeah, it really is. And it raises a bigger question too, doesn't it?
What's that?
Like, what if the very arguments used against Emoto's work actually point toward a deeper truth?
What do you mean?
A deeper truth that we're just beginning to grasp.
That's an interesting thought.
Right. Like, what if there's more to this than we can see with our traditional scientific methods?
It makes you wonder.
Okay, so you've got me hooked now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What deeper truth are we talking about here?
Well, think about the placebo effect.
Oh, right.
When people experience real benefits from a treatment, even if it's just a sugar pill or a sham procedure,
right?
Mainstream science really struggles to explain that.
Yeah, I've always found that fascinating. Like literally our minds influencing our physical bodies, even when we're being tricked.
Exactly.
That's wild.
And the thing is, the placebo effect is often used to debunk alternative medicine.
Right.
but it's actually evidence of a mind-matter connection that we don't fully understand.
So maybe that same connection could be at play in Emoto's experiments.
It's a possibility.
So we've got these intriguing experiments, we've got harsh criticism, and this whole super cooling factor.
Yeah.
Where do we even go from here?
Well, this is where a physicist named M. Pittkinen enters the scene with his rather unconventional theory called topological geometrodynamics.
Logical what?
Geometrodynamics, or TGD for short.
Okay, TGD. I can handle that.
He believes that Emoto's findings can be explained through the lens of quantum physics.
Quantum physics and water crystals. This is my kind of deep dive.
Buckle up, then.
I'm ready. What does this TGD theory have to say?
Well, Pittkinen starts with this idea that every living thing has what he calls a magnetic body.
Magnetic body.
Now, this isn't a magnetic field in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's more like an energetic blueprint, a structure made of what he calls dark matter.
Wait, dark matter, like the stuff astronomers are looking for in space.
It's related, but not quite the same. In TGD, dark matter refers to phases of ordinary matter that interact weakly with the matter we're familiar with.
Okay, I think I'm following.
They have a different value for Planck's constant.
That's a fundamental constant in quantum mechanics, right?
Right, which allows for something called macroscopic quantum effects.
Okay, we need you to break that down for me.
All right.
What are macroscopic quantum effects? And how does this dark matter play a role?
So think of it this way. Quantum mechanics usually describes the behavior of particles on a tiny subatomic scale. But in TGD, this dark matter allows for those quantum weirdness.
Like what?
Things like entanglement and superposition to happen on a much larger scale.
So you're saying that our thoughts and intentions could be influencing things at a subatomic level.
That's the idea.
Through this dark matter connection. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, and it's this connection that Pittkinen believes could be the key to understanding how something as intangible as a thought or emotion could have a physical effect on the world, including water.
Okay, so we've got magnetic bodies, dark matter, and the possibility of macroscopic quantum effects. How does this all tie back to Emoto and those water crystals?
Well, Pittkinen suggests that this dark matter within our magnetic bodies allows for connections and communication at a level far beyond what we can see or measure with our typical instruments.
So are you saying that Emoto, with his intense focus and belief in his experiments, might have actually been entangling his consciousness with the water?
It's a bold idea, but one that's entirely plausible within the framework of TGD.
And influencing it at a quantum level through this dark matter connection. Is that even possible?
And it leads us to one of the most intriguing aspects of his theory, the concept of dark water.
Dark water. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What in the world is dark water?
Well, Pittkinen proposes that water isn't simply just H2O.
Right.
A portion of it exists in a dark state linked to those long hydrogen bonds that give water its unique properties.
Okay.
And this dark water, he believes, is the key to understanding why water behaves in ways that still puzzle scientists.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but why should I care about dark water? What does this have to do with me or anything else in the world?
Here's the kicker. Pittkinen believes that the proportion of dark water is largest at body temperature.
Really?
This suggests that dark water isn't just some scientific curiosity. It might be crucial for life itself.
Whoa. So we're talking about the very essence of what makes us alive, potentially being linked to this dark side of water that we're only beginning to understand. This is going way beyond just pretty water crystals now.
It is, isn't it? And it gets even wilder when we start to explore Pittkinen's ideas about dark genes and the possibility of a language of life that's written in this hidden realm of dark matter. But I think that's a story for part 2 of our deep dive.
Our listeners, you heard it here first. We've gone from water crystals to quantum physics to dark matter, and we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into the mind-bending world of TGD and explore what it might reveal about the hidden connections between consciousness, water, and the very fabric of reality.
So welcome back.
All right, so last time...
Did you hear more?
Yeah, last time we left off with this idea of dark genes.
Right.
And a language of life hidden in this dark matter realm.
Yeah.
Sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But that's what makes it so fascinating. Pitkinen's theory suggests that these dark proton sequences exist on those magnetic flux tubes, acting as a kind of dark version of DNA.
Okay, so like a hidden blueprint made of dark matter that's controlling our biology.
He actually believes that's how the true genetic code is stored and transmitted.
That's wild. But if that's true, then what's the DNA we're all familiar with?
Yeah.
What's its role?
He sees our familiar DNA as more of a readout mechanism, a way for this dark genetic code to express itself in the physical world.
Okay, so like the blueprint creates the design and then our regular DNA helps build it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense. But how does water fit into this picture?
Right.
We've talked about dark water and how it might be essential for life.
Yes.
But how does it connect to these dark genes and this hidden language you mentioned?
Well, Pitcairn believes that water, specifically this dark fraction of water, could play a crucial role in how this dark genetic information is communicated and expressed.
So you're saying that water might be more than just a solvent or a medium for chemical reactions.
Hmm.
It could be a carrier of information, even genetic information.
That's the idea. Remember how we talked about water's sensitivity and its ability to store and transmit information?
Yeah.
Pitcairn suggests that this dark water might be able to pick up and carry those subtle patterns and information from the dark genetic realm.
That opens up a whole new way of thinking about how information flows in living systems. It's like water is this hidden communication network, a kind of liquid internet for life.
It's a beautiful analogy, and if you think about it, this idea of water as a carrier of information resonates with ancient traditions and wisdom from around the world. Think of the importance of water in rituals, ceremonies, and spiritual practices across cultures.
You're right. It's like we've intuitively understood the power and mystery of water for a long time. Now, science might be catching up to what our ancestors knew instinctively.
Perhaps. And it's this connection between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science that makes Pitcairn's work so captivating.
Speaking of ancient wisdom, remember Emoto's experiments with music?
Oh, yeah.
He found that certain types of music produced beautiful crystals, while others created chaotic ones. How does that fit into this picture of dark genes and a language of life?
That's where it gets really interesting. Pitcairn has this model of bioharmony where he proposes that DNA codons, those building blocks of genes, might actually be like three chords of light or sound.
Wait, are you saying that our DNA is like a musical score, a symphony of life?
In a way, yes, it's a mind-boggling concept, but it suggests that there might be a universal language of emotions encoded in the very structure of matter, a language that even water with its sensitivity and memory might be able to understand and respond to.
So if certain chords in this dark genetic code represent positive emotions,
Right.
maybe the disharmonious ones create negative effects, which could explain the distorted water crystals Emoto observes.
Precisely. And if water can pick up and transmit this dark genetic information, perhaps certain sounds or music can influence it by resonating with those underlying chords within the water's dark structure.
This is blowing my mind. It's like we're starting to glimpse a whole new level of communication and interconnectedness in the universe, a level where music, emotions, and even water are all intertwined.
And remember, we're still talking about Emoto's work, which many scientists considered fringe science. But if Pitcairn is right, it suggests that there might be much more to Emoto's findings than meets the eye. Perhaps he was tapping into something profound, something that we're only beginning to understand.
This has been an incredible journey so far, but I have to ask, where does it all lead? What are the implications of all this for our everyday lives? If our thoughts, emotions, and even music can influence water at a deep level, what does that mean for us?
That's a profound question, and it leads us to some of the most fascinating and, dare I say, controversial aspects of Pitcairn's work. The idea that our intentions might actually have tangible effects on the world around us.
Intentions shaping reality. Okay, I'm ready for the next level of mind blank. Give it to me.
Well, Pitcairn's theory suggests that phenomena that have long been dismissed as paranormal, things like telepathy, clairvoyance, and even psychokinesis moving objects with the mind, might actually be explainable through the lens of TGD.
So you're saying that those mind-reading superpowers we see in movies might not be so far-fetched after all?
It's possible.
That those abilities could be real, just operating within a different set of rules that we're only now beginning to grasp?
Exactly. TGD offers a framework where those abilities wouldn't violate the laws of physics, but operate within a broader set of principles that incorporate the non-local connections made possible by entanglement and dark matter.
Okay, that's a huge leap. But let's bring it back down to Earth for a moment. We've talked a lot about water,
Yeah.
and we all know how essential it is for life. But if our intentions can influence water, even at a subtle level, what does that mean for our everyday interactions with this essential substance? I mean, drink it, bathe, and it's all around us.
That's a great point, and it gets to the heart of why this deep dive is so relevant. If Pitcairn is right, it suggests a level of responsibility in our interactions with water that we might not have considered before. Our thoughts, emotions, and intentions might be imprinting themselves on this essential substance in ways we're only beginning to understand.
So every glass of water we drink, every shower we take, could be carrying a trace of our mental and emotional state.
It's possible.
That's a powerful thought.
It is. And it leads to another fascinating aspect of Pitcairn's work. The idea that water might act as a kind of memory medium, capable of storing and transmitting information, perhaps even emotions and intentions, long after the original source is gone.
Hold on, water memory. Isn't that a concept that's been debunked by mainstream science?
It's certainly controversial and there's a lot of debate around it. But Pitcairn suggests that water's ability to hold on to information might stem from those dark proton sequences we discussed earlier, those dark genes that could be carrying a whole hidden layer of information.
So you're saying that water might have a kind of dark DNA that allows it to store and transmit information, even emotions and intentions.
It's a possibility.
That's a wild thought.
It is, isn't it? And it could have profound implications for how we understand the world around us. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to delve deeper into the concept of water memory and explore the evidence for and against it. And that's a perfect starting point for part 3 of our deep dive.
All right, listeners, you heard it here. We've explored dark genes, the possibility of our intentions shaping reality, and now we're heading into the uncharted waters of water memory. Stay tuned for the final part of this episode, where we'll push the boundaries of what's possible and explore the ultimate implications of this incredible theory. All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our exploration of Dr. Emoto's work.
Indeed we are.
And honestly, my head's spinning a little.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Well, we've gone from water crystals to quantum physics,
Right.
dark genes,
Right.
and now we're diving into this idea of water memory.
What's it a lot to take in?
Yeah.
I know it's mind-boggling stuff, but that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. We're pushing the boundaries of what we thought we knew about water, about consciousness,
Right.
and maybe even reality itself.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this water memory thing.
Okay.
Last time we left off with the suggestion that water might be able to store and transmit information,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even emotions and intentions, thanks to its dark structure.
Uh-uh.
But is there any actual evidence to support this idea, or is it just pure speculation?
Well, the idea of water memory has been around for a while, and it's definitely controversial. Mainstream science tends to be skeptical, but there have been some intriguing experiments that suggest it might be worth taking a closer look.
Okay, like what? What kind of experiments are we talking about?
Well, one of the most famous is a study by a French immunologist named Jacques Benveniste.
Okay.
He claimed that highly diluted solutions of antibodies, so diluted that there shouldn't have been any molecules left, could still trigger a biological response in certain cells. It was like the water somehow remembered the presence of the antibodies even though they were gone.
That sounds pretty wild. So the water was basically haunted by the antibody.
Kind of, yeah, it's a weird concept, but I bet the scientific community wasn't too happy about that.
Oh, I can imagine. So what happened?
Well, the reaction was pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Benveniste's work was heavily criticized, and some even accused him of scientific misconduct. But the controversy didn't end. Other researchers tried to replicate his findings,
Right.
and some reported similar results.
So it's not like this idea of water memory was completely debunked.
Not at all. There's still some wiggle room for it to be true, and that's what makes it so fascinating. It's one of those areas where we're right on the edge of what we understand.
Yeah, for sure. And, this kind of connects back to what we were talking about with supercooling
Right.
and how sensitive water is to subtle influences if water can be affected by tiny changes in temperature or electromagnetic fields.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not so far-fetched to think it could also be influenced by information or intentions.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Okay, so how does Pitcannon's theory fit into all of this? We never actually studied water memory directly, right?
No, but his theory provides a potential framework for understanding how water memory might work at a deeper level.
Yeah.
Remember those dark proton sequences, those dark genes we were discussing?
Yeah.
He suggests that those structures could be involved in storing and transmitting information in water.
So the water isn't just passively holding on to information, it's actively processing it through this dark network, like a biological computer.
It's a fascinating possibility, and it gets even more intriguing when we consider his ideas about consciousness and how it might interact with water.
Okay, you've got to tell me more about this.
Yeah.
How does consciousness fit into this watery puzzle?
Well, Pitcairn believes that consciousness is not just a product of the brain, but a fundamental aspect of reality itself. He suggests that our individual consciousness is connected to a larger universal consciousness through our magnetic bodies, those structures made of dark matter that we talked about earlier.
So we're all swimming in this ocean of universal consciousness, and our magnetic bodies are like antennas picking up signals from it.
It's a great analogy, and he proposes that water, with its sensitivity and its connection to this dark realm, might be particularly receptive to the influences of consciousness.
Hmm.
He even suggests that water could act as a kind of mirror, reflecting back to us the state of our own consciousness.
Wow, that's beautiful. Water is a mirror for our souls. So are you saying that the quality of our consciousness, our thoughts, emotions, and intentions could be reflected in the structure of water?
That's something his work definitely makes us think about, and it brings us right back to Emoto's experiments.
Right.
Those beautiful crystals that formed in response to love and gratitude, the distorted ones that formed in the presence of negativity. Maybe those crystals were reflecting more than just Emoto's intentions. Maybe they were also reflecting something about the larger field of consciousness that we're all a part of.
So it's like our personal energy is actually shaping the world around us.
It's a powerful thought, and it suggests that we have a much greater influence on the world around us than we might realize. Every act of kindness, every expression of love could be contributing to a more harmonious and beautiful world,
Right.
while every negative thought or action could be adding to the discord.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is, and
Yeah.
that's why exploring these ideas is so important. It's not just about water crystals, it's about understanding our place in the universe and the power of our own consciousness.
I completely agree. This has been an incredible deep dive. We started with water crystals and ended up exploring the very nature of consciousness and our interconnectedness with the universe. It's amazing.
It really is, and the journey doesn't end here. The most important thing is to keep asking questions, keep exploring, and stay open to new possibilities. We might not have all the answers yet, but the search itself is what makes it so fascinating.
Absolutely. And listeners, we want to hear from you what resonated with you most during this deep dive.
Yeah.
What questions are still swirling around in your mind? Share your thoughts, keep the conversation going, and let's continue to explore the mysteries of water consciousness and the universe together.